Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to this edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are glad to once again be alive to give us opportunity to also understand what is happening in our political on actions that are taking place in communities around the southwest and northwest regions. We know very clearly what is happening and are hoping that a definite solution be found to the problem rocking the southwest and northwest regions. So this evening we are with panelist Mr. Shuneh Siaka, who is a politician, fervent militant of the CPDM party. Good evening, Mr. Shuneh. We're glad to have you.
Greetings, Mr. Kum Leonard. Greetings to all the televiewers of My Media Prime TV, and greetings to all fellow Cameroonians. It's a pleasure once more to be here to edify and strengthen fervent facts about our nation, Cameroon, because we are one and indivisible.
We also in the company of Senior Barrister Ashu, Emmanuel, who is the National President of the Reform Party. Good evening, Senior Barrister, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Mr. Siaka. Jarvis. Good evening, televiewers, members and sympathizers of the Reform Party, all Cameroonians at home and abroad. Always a pleasure being with you. Hope we enjoy the evening.
We also are in the company of Tamai Jarvis. Good evening, Jarvis. Always there.
Good evening, Mr. Rio. Good evening to Mr. Shuneh, and special good evening to Senior Barrister. And good evening to the President of the Republic and all political stakeholders of this country who are putting their hands on deck to ensure that land of promise, land of glory, and deep endowment forevermore meet up with the objective with their worth no tongue can tell.
We are starting with you, Mr. Shuneh. When you look at what is happening in Cameroon for so many years now, getting to 7 years, so the conflict has dragged on for too long and still lingering. Why has it been particularly very difficult to end the crisis?
Yes, Mr. Kum, I think it is in early 2016 that youths from former southern Cameroons, the northwest and southwest regions took arms to contest the integrity and the sovereignty of this nation. It all started, if I may do a phrase, when educationists and legal minds were requesting for some demands from the government. The teachers were complaining of francophone teachers coming to teach in anglophone zones, and then the legal minds wanted a translation of the Ohada law. All these constraints were heeded to by the government of this country, and when the consortium came up later on, they submitted some points to the government of this country that 90% of those points were heeded to, except the fact that they wanted that they should discuss on cessation of federalism. I think true to tradition, the government of this country works towards bringing security, good health, and stability to its nation. The government has done everything to the best of its capacity to bring these Cameroonians back to knowledge, but because of political bigots who hijacked this passive crisis and transform it into a secessionist war in which they are benefiting financially from the economies of war that they have created, they are still struggling to stigmatize some Anglophones in the two regions to think that a solution to their problem is will be secession or division. But I think the head of state, in his magnanimity, has proven to this nation that we are one and indivisible, and we are all equal in front of the law, whether you are Anglophone or you are Francophone. And he has given concessions to Anglophones. Considering the fact that we are all equal in this country, I want to tell you that from all the concessions that the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, has given, in whom I trust in his clairvoyance, he has proven that he loves Anglophones in this country even more than the Francophones. Because you see that Anglophones make just 20% of the population of this country, but they have a common law bench in the Supreme Court. They have a common law branch in Enam. They are recruited in the civil service with the same quota like Francophones. This is to show that there is no marginalization as propagated by these instigators of disunity and separation, who are fighting behind it for their personal gains.
Okay.
But I want to agree with you that in the beginning there was a problem, and this problem has been resolved. But instigators of disunity and destruction are hanging behind it to put their false agenda of separation and secession behind.
Okay, senior barrister, why has it been difficult to find a lasting, sustainable solution to the problem?
Thank you, Mr. Leo. When you listen to CPDM propagandists bringing out this style of rhetoric, you will not ask the question anymore. That's the answer. I mean, when people see black and say it's red, what do you want? What do you expect? Who picked up arms to go fighting? I want to give credence to one of my brothers, Mr. Ambe, who made a very good analysis here. You don't need anybody to tell us how it started. We all know. We're all witnesses. My grandfather's house in my village was the first to be destroyed in this crisis. So I mean, you don't tell us that people who are hidden behind the bushes carried out, picked up arms. No, sir. Nobody picked up arms. Arms came to the people who had nothing. They were marching with leaves, asking for peace. People march in Douala, they're asking the government to send the army. I mean, you were in this country. Why are you telling lies? We all know what happened. Nobody picked up arms. People started by defending themselves with sticks and machetes before arms came. So please, solve the real problem. The problem here is that instead of attacking the real issues, these CPDM people go after half measures, fake measures, which cannot solve anything. You know what the problem is. Why don't you solve it? Why don't you solve it? You say Cameroon is one and indivisible. Was there one Cameroon? In 1961, was there one Cameroon? There were two Cameroons. Why do you say it's one? Are you even from the first flag that Cameroon had, there were two stars. Why were the two stars if it was one Cameroon? I mean, face the facts, tell the truth. There's no need. No, they will not give you a World Cup up there because you have told lies to the people. This is what is causing this crisis to perdure, because CPDM people, instead of facing the truth and putting on the table appropriate solutions, they prefer to tell lies and deceive the head of state that things are moving fine. Are things moving fine? Can you go to your village? And look at this. We all know that things are not fine. If this thing has to be solved, put on the table genuine solutions that will address the real issues. You said there is no what? No marginalization. My God. How many people from Southwest region are governors? How many? There is no marginalization. How many governors are there? How many prefects are there? How many are from Northwest region and how many from Southwest region? What are you talking about?
Naseri Pobia.
No, please.
Naseri Pobia is the governor of the Central region.
How many divisions are there in this country?
Sonka Azu Awa is the governor of the West region. They are all Anglophones.
One out of 200. How many? What are you talking about?
2 out of 10. We have 10 regions in this country, so you want the Anglophones to have 5 and let the Francophones have 5.
Oh, I see. 2 out of 10 for 2 equal brothers. Look at you. You see, we're not equal.
You are not looking at that ratio. It is 20 versus 80%.
I see. In 1961, there were 20 versus 100%. Is that? There were 2 states. How can you account? You CPDM man from the Northwest. How can you account that only 2 out of 10 come from the Southern Cameroons? How can you account?
It's a proper rationing. We are 20% of the
proper rationing.
Yes, it's
and there is no marginalization.
That is.
I am reminding you that there were 2 states, Southern Cameroon and Republic of Cameroon. If they come together, you should have parity. If you tell me that was 40, 60, I can understand. They say 2 out of 10. I'm sorry.
What you are
don't know what they are calling marginalization.
Please, that is gross egocentrism from their part.
Please, senior barrister.
That is what I'm saying. The problem is that we have people like these CPDM people who look at the problem in the eyes and say a different thing.
Okay.
They pretend. I mean, stop pretending. We all know what the problem is. Address it.
What's the problem, senior barrister?
The problem is that a state was swallowed. One state swallowed the other and brought about gross injustice. How many international airports does Southern Cameroon have today? How many did they have in 1961? There were 3 in 1961. Today there's nothing. It is now they are struggling to revamp Tico Airport. How many dams has Southern Cameroon? How many? Today there is no marginalization. How many dams? How many? There is not even a single one. Yokeda was there. Malende all shut down. Southern Cameroon has to depend on the sister for electrification. What are you talking about?
Senior barrister, please.
All the parastatals closed. or and their headquarters transferred. Even CDC, that has subsisted. Where is the headquarters? It was in Bota. Where is it now?
It's in Bota.
It's still Bota.
You
are living in Chad.
A legal mind.
You are living in Chad. CDC headquarters has been transferred.
Cannot join fanatics on social media to say the headquarters is not in Limbe.
Senior Barrister.
That is really it's terrible from you.
Barrister, there was a rumor some 5 years ago that it was going to be transferred, but the head office is in Bota.
No, sir. Look at customer head office. See customer head office. It's here in the Portland. Where is the real customer head office?
Where does the GM of CDC work?
Where is the real customer head office? Let me take you.
It is in Yaoundé and the GM is in Yaoundé.
Customer head office is Yaoundé.
Move to Yaoundé.
This thing in the port here.
No, it's not custom head office. It's moved to Yaoundé.
Please.
Okay, Mr. Liu, you see,
let us not derail.
I am saying that we cannot continue to.
You are answering. I asked my question. You are rather answering what is my.
I mean, that's what they do in CPDM. They don't want other people to talk.
No, he has spoken. I've asked my question and you are answering.
Please just remind me of it.
I say, what is dragging?
What is dragging is that my CPDM brothers look at the problem in the eyes and pretend it's like somebody suffering from cough. You give him eye drop. Can eye drops cure cough?
Okay, so CPDM is. Don't you see that there are positions that are refused to shift from the beginning and causing us to be turning circles? You just saw what the exhibition here.
This is the problem of. That's why it's difficult to solve. A is attacking B, B is attacking A, and A doesn't see his own problem. B doesn't see that his own problem, and B thinks that whatever he says is correct. The truth is, both sides are guilty of the same crime of not wanting to shift their position. Because whether we like it or not, yes, let me start from the premise of the unionist. The issue within the 2016, I believe Mr. Shuneh gave some, but there was some fact that maybe it's because he was not coherent in what he said that we may have misunderstood about the 2016 that arms were picked up. I'm not sure arms were picked up in 2016. Arms were picked up in early 2018. That should be 1st of October 2018. And now when we look at this trajectory, how arms came into the picture, one we see that the government tried its best from the beginning of the crisis. Mr. Shuneh pointed it out, which was clear, that the 2016, when we had the consortium, we had two interministerial ad hoc committee that was formed by the government to look into the problem. We have one which was led by Paul Migot Gogomo in Bamenda, that was for the teachers. And we have one that was called by Minister Logan Eso in Yaoundé to look at the lawyers issue. And these were from high instructions from the President of the Republic to look at the grievances of the teachers and the lawyers and see how they can strike a common ground. And in the Bamenda debacle, we all saw that almost all the points tabled by the teachers, without going too political from the other side, were agreed upon, except for what they termed the discussion of the state, of the form of the state, which Gokumo highly has articulated that the mandate given to them was not to look at the form of the state, but was to look at the grievance of the teachers. Then, coming out from the other side, from the aspect of intelligence, I think that if this matter had been discussed, even without proposing solution, it would have calmed down. And we had background information that the consortium themselves were about to call off the strike after they had met with the government. But unfortunately, something went around the bush and they were arrested. Now, why is it so difficult from the separatists from the other side? The other side too have actually refused to see that government is doing its best to resolve the conflict, though from their prison. And now, let's look at now where the government is missing the point. Truth be told that there were two Cameroons that came together. And when truth be told that they came under a union in federal state. And truth be told that the separatists too need to understand that when they came together, the two became an entity now to form a new culture that became known as the United Federal Republic of Cameroon, or the Federal Republic of Cameroon, the Federation. Now, when this federation came in, we had a lot of problems within marginalization and up to date. However, what we must understand here, Mr. Liu, is that you cannot resolve this conflict from finger pointing. All parties are guilty of the same crime. They are guilty of lying, they are guilty of intimidation, they are guilty of killings, they are guilty of propaganda. All parties. I think that we should know there's something I admire so much in the French version of Cameroon anthem. va debout et jaloux de ta liberté, comme un soleil son drapeau fait doit être. And I asked the government bench, do we live by va debout et jaloux et ta liberté? Are we actually living to resolve this conflict? Because if we are living to resolve this conflict, there are some kind of exaggerated words we will not use when this conflict started and when, as it is now. It is difficult for these two parties to shift their position because both parties are seeing their interests than the interest of the common man. The common man is bleeding. But A is thinking that if this crisis is resolved this way, I think it will give B the credence for B to know that they are all powerful. And B says that no, we're an independent state that came together. Prime Minister Abiy, I like going back to history. Prime Minister Abiy, when he won the Nobel Peace Prize, he stated that Magdema is an Amharic word, which means that making use of the best of our past and to create a new future that can best identify us in the new context. And I believe that the government and the separatists need to understand that we have to look for a new culture that best represents the peace-loving people of the nation of Cameroon and not just the entity. The truth is, Mr. Leo, we cannot go back to 1961 and look at issues. And the truth is, we cannot remain back to the status quo of looking at what the government wants us to look at. So what is there now the problem, the interest of the common man? There are facts, if you hear what Senior Barrister is saying, it's just an issue of development. It's just an issue of interest. Because if you look at the fact, if this government actually meant what they said, I asked a simple question. We look at the Gov't National Dialogue. It went well and we applauded it. Look at the special status. Till now, when will the president of the two houses, Bamenda and Boya, actually have the powers more than the governors? We are counting how many years after the major national dialogue. So you start looking at the fact that the slow implementation of policies taken by the government is actually making some of the separatists not to shift their ground. Because if you want to talk about special status, they will tell you, you talked about the fact that there's independency of the president of the regional assembly. How is it different from the governor? You are short there. So you have to see that if government has taken decisions that we have taken this step, these steps should be coming with accompanying measures or further information to educate the people that this was what was said, this was what was not done. We are counting how many years since we ended the Grand Measure National Dialogue, the announcement of the special status, when with the president of the regional assembly, who is supposed to be the chief executive officer of the region, elected by the people under a mandate of the people, fully take control of the northwest and the southwest region. In our situation, the separatists them too, they're on the other side. They are saying that the government is not the government is not. We are aware that President Biya created the disarmament and demobilization. We are aware that in the Major National Dialogue invitations were given. We are aware that ministers were sent to US, Canada, and the rest to talk to some of these people. We are aware that the government extended olive branches to them in Europe. We are still aware that the government doors are still open for people to drop their answer and come to talk. However the case is, both parties need good faith to see that, okay, let us resolve this without throwing insult. And what I'm expecting of Barrister and Mr. Shuneh to talk to us is how we can together move ahead, not by accusing fingers. Yeah,
but before I come to you, Mr. Shuneh, Senior Barrister, you say you are insisting on this issue of two states and 150-50. Is that what the Reform Party is going to do for Cameroon?
Thank you. I want to clear the air here. Mr. Jarvis, I don't represent secessionists.
No, I'm just.
I don't represent. So when you say Mr. Shuneh, please, I don't represent. I'm sorry. I don't represent. I am national president of Reform Party, and if I'm giving points here on the debate, they are purely intellectual points. Okay. I don't represent the secession. You know that very well.
Yes.
So please, as you were saying, Mr. Jarvis said we cannot go back to 1961 to solve the issues, and we cannot just stand today and look at only the future. You cannot know where you are going if you don't know if you don't know where you are coming from. You cannot know how many floors you put on your house if you don't know how the foundation is made. He made a lot of things. He said a lot of things that were not true. In 1961, there was no such thing as a union. There was no such thing. I have been repeating these things here. While the parties were in Yaoundé having the constitutional conference, which was prescribed by Article 5 of Resolution 1608 in the presence of Britain, President Ahidjo summoned his assembly, and that assembly voted into law as an amendment of their constitution the draft federal constitution which the Southern Cameroonians will refuse to sign. And that is what has been implemented as the federal constitution. Southern Cameroon was not a party to it. And that is why I am saying till today, you cannot create a nation based on falsehood. People have realized it, and they are asking that things be made right. There is no reason why two brothers who came together on equal terms, one should be downgraded and the other wants to give him lessons. Please, would you face the facts? That's the thing. So when you say, is it 50-50? There were two brothers. The UN said they should come together in the presence of Britain and agree on how they are going to run their country. That was never done.
So what you are saying today in 2023 is that
let's sit on the table and discuss on how we are going to run this country.
Yeah, let me ask my question.
Okay, sir.
Which means we are not going back to 1961.
What I'm saying is that you are saying that today Cameroon has never been united, because you say no union has ever existed.
If it has been, show me the act.
Okay.
Show me the act if it has been.
Okay. So
that is why Cameroon celebrates none of the independence days.
Okay, so we established that you say that there is no union between.
There's no de jure union. There is a de facto union, no de jure union. That if you look at it legally, there is no legal document establishing a union.
Now, if you were to live with a woman for 30 years and tomorrow there is a problem.
Yes, sir.
Out of when you, who has lived with this woman for 20 or 30 years, you say leave because there is no union. Where is your conscience? How do you place the conscience?
Unfortunately, that is a very bad example to take, because under the present legal dispensation we have,
it doesn't work.
The woman will go as she came.
Okay, it doesn't work. And I'm asking this because I want our televiewers to understand step by step. And you say that 50-50. So if the Reform Party were to take part today in Cameroon, there will be 50-50. That's what
we will create an enabling environment for the citizens to sit on the table and determine how they want the country to be run. It's not something that Ashu can dictate. I cannot dictate that. The Cameroonians have to decide it themselves. I have always said we shall create an enabling environment for Cameroonians to sit down and determine the form of the state.
Okay, the form of the state. Yeah, but when you look at some persons actually think that CPDM militants are hiding the truth from the President of the Republic and also not helping him to solve this problem.
Yes, Mr. Leo, CPDM militants hiding the truth from the head of state. I think we are in what our Francophones term here, Mondo Vision, where we are talking to the hearing of everybody having a National Communication Council, and they give reports to the President of the Republic. And
newspapers report,
and I think
newspapers carry all of these things. I don't know how
can Metro Ashu say they are hiding things from the head of state. But before I dive into
have I said that here?
That CPDM militants are not telling the truth.
I haven't said that hiding anything from.
You said they are not telling the truth.
That's different from hiding things from head of
state. Okay, before I dive into the in-depth of your question, I want to edify public opinion on certain variances that have been pronounced here by Metro Ashu. I will start by saying that Metro Ashu is a victim of colonialism and imperialist tendencies, just like Africa, because if we have to follow factually, if he says we have to go back to history, then we should be saying that we should be talking of one Cameroon which was German Cameroon. And if we go back to German Cameroon, all these historical facts he has been presenting here will be nullified. It means that Cameroon was one country before the colonialists came and divided us. So let us go back to one Cameroon. And when we are talking about one Cameroon, it means that we are one and indivisible. Secondly, his gross egocentrism in thinking that because Anglophones make 20% of the population of this country, we have to share governors 50-50. As a matter of fact, as a political leader, I begin to wonder what the manifesto of his party says and how far he can go to lead this country.
There again, you are misquoting me. When
and then
I said, Cameroonians will sit on the table and determine what form they want for the state.
Thirdly, Maître, with all due respect, I want to still insist on the fact that if this conflict is still hanging, it is because of unscrupulous political bigots, home and abroad, who are benefiting from the situation, economies of war, They are making a lot of money. You know, a lot of people have become millionaires and milliardaires because of this war. They are the people holding the war now, not to end because they are making money from it. Because to the best of my knowledge and understanding, Anglophones and Francophones have understood that we are one people, we are one nation, and we are brothers and sisters, and this war is not going to help us. How do I prove this? 90% of the IDPs who have left the northwest and southwest regions are living in Douala and Yaoundé and the west regions. Peaceful cohabitation with Francophones, meaning that their problem in this country is not Francophone, they are administrative reasons, and the government is doing everything possible, or has done everything to the best of their power and understanding to solve these administrative lapses. It is not secession that's going to solve the problem of this country. And truth be told, as my brother said, as he said, that truth be told, I want to come back to the fact that if truth should be told, that Cameroon has to look ahead and not looking behind. And if we must look behind, we'll go back to German Cameroon and not French or English Cameroon, because German Cameroon existed before French and English Cameroon. Then coming now to your question, Mr. Leo, hiding the truth from the President of the Republic, you said so? Mm-hmm. I think there are institutions in this country that communicate to the president of this country directly, and the president, I'm very sure he's watching out. If you are doing so, the head of state, I want to assure and guarantee you that nobody is hiding any information from you, and that all what we are saying is what we gather from the communities, and it is the truth and nothing but the truth. We are putting square pegs in square holes. We are saying that peace and tranquility is gradually coming back to this country, and the process of the Grand National Dialogue is still continuous. And I think that we are still doing consultations with every Cameroonian from head to toe to make sure that they come to the understanding that these problems that came up in 2016 are being resolved gradually, slowly and steadily, and within a very short period of time we are going to gain peace and tranquility as we used to do. Cameroon will remain the triangle of peace.
Okay, Cameroon will remain the triangle of peace. Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, National President of the Reform Party. Nobody is listening to calls made by international community. Severally, they have said that we should respect a ceasefire. Why is nobody listening to them?
Mr. Leo, this crisis is like a bushfire. Okay. It's easy to ignite a bushfire, but very difficult to extinguish it. You look at what the Americans are suffering in the hands of bushfires. It starts small in one place, before you know it's a whole region, a whole state that is engulfed in fire. So when this thing started, people wanted to come in, the government said no, it's an internal crisis and we are going to handle it. I remember some big officials like the Secretary of UN came here, the President of the General Assembly, the EU President, they all came here, Franco, they all came here. But they said, no, it's an internal problem, we shall handle it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, getting to 6 or 7 years now, they cannot handle the internal problem. Why? Because from the nature of the problem, when I listen to my CPDM friend here, I just asked myself, was this man in this country when things were happening? It is because the government mismanaged the crisis. From the time when the consortium was banned, the local population had nobody to talk to them for them. And that is the reason why the diaspora stepped in and started coordinating things from abroad, because any person here
coordinating and collecting money,
any person here who could dare to talk was arrested. They even chased Sisi right up to Nigeria with his team and arrested them there. So I mean, you can understand that the rise of these diasporan politicians or diasporan activists is because of the way the government mismanaged the crisis. If you had allowed a rivulet here for people to talk,
there are scammers who came up for money.
If people on ground zero were able to air their views and talk, we would now have reached in this position where there is an explosion. And now that we have reached that position, it is difficult to take a microphone and say, drop your weapons. They'll ask you a simple question. Are you the one who bought us the weapons? That you're asking us to drop them. It's as simple as that. That is the reason why nobody is listening. Drop our weapons. They say, what were we fighting for? So now like this, the only way out of this thing is for the parties to sit on the table. Sitting on the table, because that is another issue. At first we heard that there was the Swiss talks. It flopped. Now they say Canadian talks. The government came out after the foreign minister of Canada issued a statement. The government came out and said, we never mandated anybody. And I asked myself, how is this possible? But Mr. Leo, let me tell you, I took upon myself to investigate this thing. I sent messages to some of the prominent diasporan activists. And I will tell you, I was shocked. I don't want to give names. I have the messages. I wrote to the first person who is very outspoken. Can you give me the names of people who represented the government? I was shocked to hear him say, ask this other man, I was not there. I was there, but I didn't see the people. You didn't see? But everybody says the government sent people. I'm telling you, it's something very funny. I am calling on them. If they know the people who represented the government, please give us their names, because many people here think that the government is lying when they say they mandated nobody. No, truly, it's something serious.
I like your honesty. I like your honesty.
No, please look. You said you don't know why the thing is not moving. How can it move if there is evidence that if what the government is saying is true, that they didn't mandate anybody? I want these people in the diaspora, please give us the names of those government representatives so that we can hold it to the face of the government and say, you send this man and cannot be heard now to say that you didn't send anybody. But unfortunately, from what I have found out now like this very today, all the messages I sent came back negative. Nobody can give me any name. So I don't know how a lasting peace can be brought about in this type of situation where you claim that there is something and there is no clear proof that both parties are fully committed to what is happening. So I think, in answer to your question, that if any person wants to come in to mediate, there should be clear evidence of commitment. Clear evidence that,
before telling the world that, yeah.
I think so. I think so, because if there's clear evidence, no serious government can come out officially to say we didn't mandate.
Okay, that is also a point you are raising, that nobody.
I can show you. I can show you the messages. Yeah. Truly, because I carry out my message.
Keep them for yourself.
Just keep that. We are going to be looking into that. But why is nobody respecting the call for a ceasefire? Because if you say A is a warmonger, and you yourself is smoking guns behind the communities in the Southwest and Northwest region, it means that nobody actually wants a peace to reign.
I actually made it clear from months ago that we are looking about people who are looking for money than the interest of the people, especially in the two benches. We have to be very honest and call a spade a spade. We have some credible officials within the government who want peace at all costs to return in the Northwest and Southwest region. We have the Prime Minister is working tirelessly to see that peace return to the Northwest and Southwest region. And we also have some ministers within his own cabinet who are working endlessly to ensure that peace doesn't return to the Northwest and Southwest region. That's maybe because of the aspect that they want money within the conflict, or they're enjoying financial compensation. Now, you also have the other side of the separatists who says they want peace within the Northwest and Southwest region, who have actually dropped their weapons. And you also have now some who are saying that we don't want peace by the rhetoric they use. So you have a clash of personalism. I define personalism, which was a concept I brought during the early phase of the conflict, that it is an act of putting in or making people see that, putting a global picture that you are fighting for the interests of the people, or which the end point is that you're fighting for your pocket. That's personalism. Now, whereas patriotism on the other side is the aspect of staying true to the values of the nation and respecting the principles governing the state. Now, if you look at the fact that the Western nations are calling for ceasefire and none of them are heeding, it tells you that there is money in the crisis, and their effort is not about saving the lives of the people, but it's all about proving a point. We're at the level where we have to prove a point. To prove to you that it was all about proving a point, when the Canadian foreign minister announced a proposed peace talk, you saw the rhetoric of some separatist leaders. We told you that they would that, we told you, and we are coming to the table as this, that, we are not that. They started laying terms and terms. Even those who don't even know whether they were peace talks today, we are getting to know that those who were even giving these terms that no, we will not sit on this table without this, that, we are going there on this, that. These were the same people who said, we cannot go to Switzerland because of this, that. And now they are saying that when they announced a peace talk, you saw their rhetoric change. And now on the other side of the government, you saw how some people came and said, we will not negotiate with terrorists, that, will not do this. But these were people who said they wanted peace to return in the northwest and southwest region. So you see these conflicting views to tell you that it's all about proving a point and not fighting for the interest of the common man. Let's come now to these terms on non-negotiating with terrorists. And that's the term that has been actually flaming up the fire. It takes a few individuals to start a war, but it takes a village to end that war. We have to be very honest when it comes to ending the war. It takes a total village. Now, there's a phrase that people commonly use, and I believe that in this period of the conflict, we must be responsible in how we talk. We must be responsible how we call names for both parties. Because when you start calling names of terrorism, when you start calling names of blackleg or vulture or vampires, government or whatever you call them, you don't give peace a chance. In negotiation, there's what we call assertiveness. When you are about to call for peace, you have to think about the long-term relationship between you and that person, so that you don't ruin it. Now, if you hear people saying that we will not negotiate with terrorists, I ask a simple question. When invitations for the major national dialogue came in, Mr. Kum, which was dished out to Mark Barata, Tapang Ivan, and the rest, at the time, they were Cameroonians. At the time, they were not terrorists. Now they did not attend the invitation. We are saying that, okay, we will not negotiate with terrorists. When we gave out this invitation to them, were they not Cameroon? Were they Cameroonians? No, nothing has changed of their status. But we have some government people who tell you that we cannot discuss with those people because they are not Cameroonians. So when you gave them invitation during the major national dialogue, were they Cameroonians at the time? That's a question mark. You come now on the other side, they say, we'll not discuss with terrorists. Now, when Kawa Yanik and the rest dropped their arms, what process led to them dropping their arms? Was it a negotiation? So we cannot be using this rhetoric as we will not negotiate with terrorists under the guise of pushing the war in the north and south region. You come to the other side of the eye, they say, we will not discuss with this government because they are vampires, they are this, they are that, they are that, they are that. And I ask a question, when the Canadians announced the peace talk, did you not embrace this peace talk? Was it not the same vampire you have called? My appeal is that during this period of conflict, we should be watchful of the words we use. We should be watchful of the rhetoric we put in, because both parties, they are about to prove a point. If not, Mr. Kum, we have people who keep dying in the northwest and southwest. As we speak today, we were told that 2 people were shot in Bamenda along the Ndop Road. Drivers. Now, if these people were shot, they are Cameroonians. We are no more of Cameroonians than them. These are people living their ordinary life. A life lost is a nation lost. So we must be able to ask ourselves that, what do we really want when we are talking about this conflict? Do we want to fund the conflict, or do we want to see a return to peace in this area? If we want to see a return in peace, I will urge the panelists here to actually pipe down some of the rhetoric we use and contribute ideas and see how we can beckon on the 2 sides to leave their position. If you fight on your position, you will never have peace. Because A says it must be federation or nothing else. B says it must be union or nothing else.
But are we not also in this position, Mr. Shuneh, because of what we have in mind? Government wants the nation to stay as it is, and the separatists are bent on having a different state. Okay, we were a state, we want that state. How do we find an understanding when everybody is holding on their position? Nobody is saying that, okay, I'm shifting my grounds from this end to this end.
In conflict resolution, you don't go to a negotiating table with preconditions.
Okay.
I am talking from this point as a certified junior diplomat. And then, before I come back to your question, I want to still continue to edify public opinion on some utterances that have been made here. You know that Canadian talks have been debunked by the government of this country. In diplomacy, you have diplomatic channels of communication. The government spokesman for this nation, Cameroon, which is a sovereign state, came out and debunked that information. And I think that we have a Canadian High Commissioner in this country. And if for the fact that the minister debunked that information and it wasn't true, the Canadian High Commissioner, who represents the head of state of Canada, would have come out to contradict the information. You know that the secessionists based in Europe and America have lost popularity both home and abroad. So what they are doing now is just the kick of a dying horse. They are coming out with political propaganda. We heard about the Swiss dogs. The Swiss government has never declared, and they will not continue being victims. Our people of this nation will not continue dying because people are living in their comfort zones and trying to use Cameroonians as bets to make their money. Then coming to your question.
Yes. You forgotten what I asked? Okay.
Yes, coming to your question, what did you say again, if you might remind me?
Yes, I'm talking about the international community. Nobody is listening to everybody. Everybody is doing like they want. Yet, I say you accuse, this person says you are the one funding the war. This other person is saying that you are the person funding the war. Nobody is dropping the gun to serve as an example to the other.
Cameroon is a sovereign state. Cameroon is having an internal crisis like any other nation. You know, there are more secessionists in Canada than in Cameroon. In Quebec, if you have ever been to Quebec, you know, there in Quebec, there's a secessionist crisis in Quebec that is more dangerous and more bloody than what we are going through in Cameroon. I think if the Prime Minister of Canada is listening to me, she can justify, or you can just go to Google tomorrow and find out. What is happening in Cameroon is an internal crisis. The Cameroon government came up with the Grand National Dialogue that is continuous, because the process of the Grand National Dialogue is continuous. It is still in process. And we are saying that the result of the Grand National Dialogue is fantastic, because obviously we see that before we used to hear that these people have been shot, 10 people have been shot, 20 people have been shot. Actually now what is happening is that they are the, how do I put them, criminals in quotes who are hiding behind secessionists. When they go for their operations, they fall in their traps. And then when they are killed, you turn around to say innocent people have been killed. Cameroon is a state of law. Cameroon is a sovereign state. We are handling the crisis properly, and I trust the clairvoyance of the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, for the wisdom he has put into solving this crisis through humility, dialogue, and understanding. If not, with all the exasperations of the secessionist fighters, he would have declared full-scale war on the Northwest and Southwest regions. But true to his magnanimity, he has sent forces of law and order to install peace in these regions, and peace is gradually returning. As we can see, children have started going to school, and before you know it, everything will become normal. Okay,
Senior Barrister, what must government do extra from what they have been doing now to put a definite end to what is happening?
Thank you, Mr. Kum. What must government do? I'm a very honest man, and I want honesty to prevail wherever I am. I get particularly disturbed when I see a nation, a respected nation like Canada, take the floor to inform the international community that they are mediating in a crisis between the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, in the bracket Ambazonia. Then I come to this panel and I hear this CPDM man talking what I'm hearing. It's very disturbing, because I said earlier that I tried to verify what my friend calls the government debunking the Canadian declaration. I tried to verify. The people have contacted. They are high-level people, but one said contact this one or that one. I don't have any idea. They told us that they were there, but I did not see. The other said contact this other person too. So I will still contact them. But I want to assure my friend here that Canada has a reputation to defend. Canada has a reputation to defend. They cannot go to the air to say what they said. I mean, the foreign minister to say what they said. And contrary to what you said, the Canadian High Commissioner in Yaoundé tweeted to confirm the foreign minister's statement. So maybe you lost that one. The foreign minister, excuse me, please.
If he tweeted to confirm, why were you still finding out from other people? Because that's the highest authority who can.
I am telling you that the Canadian High Commissioner tweeted to confirm the foreign minister's statement. Now, Cameroon government has said they sent nobody, and I have said that I am verifying. I've contacted highly placed diasporan activists, and I was surprised to hear them say they don't know. I will continue until I get to the root of it. If any person represented this government, I will know. And I am saying that.
Unfortunately, permit me to cut you short. Unfortunately,
Mr.
tweet is not a formal form of diplomatic communication.
Okay, excuse.
Tweeting is not a formal form of diplomatic communication.
Please.
Nations don't communicate through tweeting.
Mr. Shuneh, yes, go on.
Thank you, sir. In fact, I think CPDM, all those are centers they have for training, I don't know what they train. You see,
you mean the CPDM Academy?
They have all those their training centers. I don't know what they train. You see, the Canadian foreign minister did not tweet. She did not tweet. She made a press statement. The ambassador, the High Commissioner here, tweeted to confirm. So I am telling you, I'm saying that at the international scene, Cameroon is in a bad position. Look, no sentiments. Cameroon is in a very bad position, because if Canada has proof that that Cameroon government participated, do you know what consequences that will have? And I was told that the UN representatives were also present. I am going to go to the root and find out who was actually there and who wasn't. Let me tell you, CDN was present. I'm a member of CDN. I will get to CDN. I will get the names of those people. Don't bother yourself. What I'm saying is that what the government should do is to join those talks very fast. Join those talks very fast, because the government cannot put up a fight with the international community. I'm telling you straight in the eyes. Cameroon government cannot put up a fight. Let me remind you that we are taking drips, economic drips. They can cut those drips, and you know what that is. They can send you Christine Lagarde, and you know what that is. Please, it's not nice to put up a fight. If they were actually there, let them go back to that. If they were not there, let them go there. If they were there and they want to backtrack, let them go to that table and negotiate this issue. It's not a matter for any person to put Cameroonians into more turmoil and frustration. We have not been able to solve this thing internally for 6 years. Now we have an international community that is coming up to help. If Cameroon doesn't go, it will show that it is Cameroon government that is causing trouble, and that is not good in the eyes of the international community. I don't know who are the people who advise this government, but that is very wrong. It's wrong for a government to be seen as a troubleshooter. How can you explain that Canada will say we want to mediate this thing, and the government says no, we never mandate anybody? That is not good at all. So I am saying that what the government is not doing that it ought to do is to go to those talks. If they were not there, let them be there. If they were there and they want to backtrack, let them go back to that table and make sure that this thing is negotiated. Otherwise, I don't see them getting out of it without leaving feathers.
Okay.
There's a correction here. I want us to understand that what was announced was not dialogue, wasn't negotiation. Pre-talks. Announcement of a pre-talk. And this is what happened in conflict. Now, I'm talking now in the context of a negotiator. This is what happened when a person of interest or a country of interest see that there is conflict and want to resolve it. In pre-talks, I contact A independently and find out about A. What is the problem? Would you like to meet this person to discuss? If A say yes, I go now to B. Because at this level, they may have not met face to face, but maybe the Canadian government have actually met with some representative of the government of Cameroon, spoke to them, isolated in an isolated manner, and they tell you that, well, this is a crisis, you know, maybe in future we would like to negotiate with these people, or would like to sit down. Or if the Canadian government asks, will you prefer to sit down? If these people agree on A, B, C, can you people sit down and discuss? They say yes, we can sit down and discuss. So this was announcement of pre-talks, which means that they may have spoken to A independently, B independently, C independently. If you look at Ayabacho's reaction when this announcement was made, they said that Canadian government should correct the appellations of Northwest and Southwest. So if you see, this were consultation. Maybe the Canadian government had done consultation and all the parties agreed that, yeah, maybe we can meet. And they say, okay, we have agreed, both parties have agreed that they can meet to discuss the crisis. It was just an announcement of the parties engaging, not like there was a pre-talk, like Senior Barrister is putting in now that they should go back and talk. Like, no, let us be clear that it was not a discussion, a dialogue in itself. It's an announcement, which means that it's consultation at the level where you can consult separate party independently. You take from A, you take from B, you take from C, and you announce now a day that everybody will come on the table and see how you can start now on the terms, on the interest of the position. A lay its case, B lay its case. I'm sure the question you asked Senior Barrister was and is, what should the government do in terms of resolving this conflict? I think
but wait. Are you saying that at that table a solution is going to be found? Are you categorical on that? Because you are insisting government.
Yes.
I asked how to solve the problem. You said they must go to Canada.
Mr. Liu.
Yes.
I am saying that, with all due respect to the opinion of my good friend here, I'm saying that he rightly said Canadian government must have carried out consultation. If they had carried out consultation, therefore they met with government officials.
Yeah.
In that case, government should not backtrack. Let them continue.
Yeah,
let them continue with
my question to
because
you is,
we have seen the reaction on the other side. They are all enthusiastic about the talks. So if the government refuses to go, it means that the government is a troubleshooter, and that is not a good thing. We don't want the government, we don't want the state of Cameroon to be seen as the person causing trouble. After constitution has been made and people agree to sit, you say no, you're not sitting. You want to solve a problem which you call internal, which you have been unable to solve for 6 years. No, sir, it is not a good thing. I am saying that what they should do, which they are not doing, is to join that mediation and have this thing solved.
Okay, you believe in an external.
I was about to conclude, and we should also understand that in negotiation, when a party comes out and do an announcement, it's different from behind the scene. And this is not the first time. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, John Franklin Kennedy had an agreement that the missile will be pulled out from Turkey and also from Cuba, and that he warned that if this is made public, he will pull out and denounce that he's not part of that negotiation. And this is common in diplomacy. Mr. Shuneh will bear with me that this is common in diplomacy, where in physical, parties are announcing that we are not talking, but in the real terms, in practical, they are talking. And negotiation can also be in different category. It can be by the means of correspondence, means that I send a correspondent, you send a correspondent, we do an exchange of correspondence, or on the table we sit and discuss. But we must bear one thing in mind, that during this sit-in process itself, like I said from the beginning, maybe Senior Barrister quoted me out of context. I talked about we cannot go back to 1961. On what I said that we cannot go back to 1961 is that we cannot force that we must go back as we were in 1961. That's what I'm saying. And that if we, in which he will agree that if they are coming on the table, they will not agree to go back on 1961. There must be concession. It's a give and take. It means that if I give this, you must give this, and which means we can never go back in 1961. We must be clear. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about the contextual decisions that are supposed to be taken, or which are going to be taken. Either we may end with federation, or we may end with decentralization, or we may end with confederation, but we can never have a separate state if we are going back on the table on negotiation. That is very, very clear. Whether he likes it or not, negotiation simply means I give part, you give part. It's a win-win. So you cannot say that we are going on the table to discuss on separation, yet no talks is off the table. We'll discuss. And like I said, Mr. Kuyo, that is about the interest of the people. The interest of the people, if the government meets the interest of the people, there will not be need for talk. Like, for example, if you give them good education, construct road, construct dam, give them full autonomy to manage some issues, then we will not be looking at now the political issue. Mr. Shuneh said, Anglophones and Francophones have no problem. Yes, of course, to tell you that it's an issue of development, social and economic justice. It's not an issue of social and economic justice. Once social and economic justice is resolved, where people have freedom of speech and expression, people have the right to voting, people have access to good water, potable water, people have the access to low-cost electricity, good health care in the periphery, and when people have this, there is no problem. Abe said, Prime Minister Abe again in 2019 said, when you deny their use social and economic justice, you are giving them reason to deny peace.
Okay.
Mr. Liu, please just one.
Let's see if you have been monopolizing.
No, please. There's something I have to.
Okay.
You see, when we talk of pre-talks, I want everybody to understand it is not the government and the Southern Cameroonian activists who are going to negotiate. That's just the beginning. You cannot solve this thing without involving all the stakeholders. We should understand this. I say the government should go back to the table, because if they don't go there, you can have no talks. Let me tell you, you can have no talks if the prominent elites from Ground Zero are absent. No way. Because those people in the diaspora have no mandate. Look, for you to represent a people, you must have a mandate. Those guys have no mandate. So if the talks start, the mediator will have to get the people who have the mandate of the people.
But you are here. You have proven.
If the people say I have their mandate, then I will go. You see,
do
so
we need
you
the
see,
people to choose you?
that is what I am saying. That's what I'm saying.
You have proven that you are the representative.
Excuse me. You
of
see,
the secessionists.
No, he said he's not
Oh my
the
God.
representative.
I don't know where this one is coming from.
Okay. Now, Mr. Shuneh, I'll get back to you. What do you think government should do to put a definite stop to this crisis? Because that's a question I asked Senior Barrister. You say they should go back.
They should go back to the table
Yeah.
and kick on.
Yeah, but what if it fails? Because it is just Canada says we want to help.
Mr. Leo, I said that is just the beginning of the process.
Yeah, but what if the process fails?
How can it
Like
fail?
the Swiss.
How can it fail? When the two start, they will now call the stakeholders from Ground Zero, who will all come and sit on the table before we can start talking, looking at the real talks.
Negotiation doesn't mean you must agree.
Now, what if they get to that table and then the separatists insist that
It is not about. I don't understand. Why do you think it is separatists against government? I am saying that
who are the stakeholders?
the separatists have gotten the thing to kick off. They are not the ones to finalize it. You cannot solve anything there without having true representation of the people of Southern Cameroon. That's what I'm telling you.
So the talks are initiated by the separatists. That's what you're saying.
They have just initiated. It's not just it is CDN that initiated those talks, not separatists. Let things be clear. The talks were initiated by CDN, and I'm a member of CDN. And I am saying that. No, I am telling the truth. I am saying that the separatists have been put on board, but talks will not be limited to them, because it is just the beginning. For those talks to be completed, you need people who have the people's mandate.
No, they will call you. They will say, no, you are coming to steal their shows.
No, sir. Look,
who will listen to you, Senior Barrister?
I remember
they will say they have the guns. And
no,
Yeah.
Mr. Kum.
Yeah.
Okay, I had said here earlier that all we needed after 6 months of work was a country to accept to mediate. The whole thing has been planned out. You cannot ask the various IG groups to represent Southern Cameroon. Who elected them? There is a problem of legitimacy. He asks the question here: with who is the government going to dialogue? That question was pertinent, because these guys don't have a mandate from the people. I am saying that if the real talks have to kick off, we shall need true representatives of the Southern Cameroonian people to come and attend the talks.
You think that Chris Anu, Ayabacho,
they cannot speak for Southern Cameroon.
Allow you to talk.
They cannot speak for. Please, they cannot.
Is that not another war you are
they themselves know it. Nobody elected them. They cannot speak for Southern Cameroon. They need true representation.
That's.
Well,
so you think?
I stand to be corrected.
So you think that after all of what these guys have done, they will allow the floor for you to come and talk on behalf of?
I don't think. People? I know that at international law, splinter groups don't represent a population.
So how do we?
Real mandate has to come from the people.
But okay, it means that
as the people, they will give you that representatives.
So the MPs who have been voted, the senators,
the people know who to send. Who is the MP that voted the consortium?
So how is that process going to be done? How will it look like?
Can you tell me how Agobala and Co were elected?
No.
Ask the people, they will give you their representatives. That's not a problem.
They came out of their respective professionals.
No, sir. Please ask them.
Teachers,
when the time comes,
lawyers, yeah.
when the time comes, you will see how this population will give its representatives. There's no problem with that.
You want to hijack? Yes. How do you think, Mr. Shuneh? How do you think the government should get the job done?
Yes, Mr. Leo, that's a very trivial question, but it just comes to sustain and retain what the government has been doing, because the government has been solving this problem right from the beginning when they started with the Grand National Dialogue.
Okay.
And the Grand National Dialogue is a continuous process. Before I dive into the in-depth, I will still want to make a comment on the, I'm deeply flabbergasted by the nonchalance of Senior Barrister Ashu in his high level of application of emotions in a very legal and diplomatic matter, trying to concoct information from left and right. Diplomatically, the government of this country has come out through its Minister of Communication and spokesperson to declare to the national and international community with the hearing of the government of Canada that they have not negotiated any pre-talks with Canada and they are not into any talks with anybody. I am not here to defend the government's part. I'm just here to, yes, that they are not into any communication, into negotiations with anybody. But I'm really flabbergasted that a legal mind like Senior Barrister Ashu, in quote, should be here trying to propagate false information and struggling to position himself as spokesperson for the secessionists. Yes, I know in situations like this, everybody is struggling to position himself because they think they can reap something from it. Back to your question, Mr. Leo, the government of this country came out with the Grand National Dialogue. And we are seeing the results and the fallouts of the Grand National Dialogue. There's nothing else we should be asking from the government. All the committees that were created during the Grand National Dialogue, they are still working and they're in process. We can see the amount of soldiers or secessionist fighters in the bushes who are dropping their guns and joining these armament centers. We will see that the escalations that were happening in 2020, 2021, we are having at least an 80% reduction in all those escalations. We are seeing that IGPs are returning back to their homes. We see that families are enjoying themselves back in the Northwest and Southwest regions, despite some sporadic attacks that are still coming up in some places. But I want to believe that surely, slowly and steadily, we are going to return back to normalcy. And no, there's nothing the government can do. Government has done everything possible for peace to return. Concessions were granted. During the Grand National Dialogue, the special status was given to the Northwest and Southwest region. Decentralization is in its active stage, and slowly and steadily we are going to feel the impact of it. We are seeing how other institutions are being re-established. If you, as I earlier said about decentralization, if you go down to the councils, you see that the people are already enjoying the fallout of decentralization, though it is not yet at 100%, but it is gradually coming. And peace and security is gradually coming back to the people. I think the Grand National Dialogue was a gateway to peace, and the results are being achieved slowly and steadily. We're going to reach there.
Okay, so slowly and steadily we're going to reach there. Let's look at this stuff from the civil society perspective.
Very briefly,
okay,
how the government can resolve this. I think I have some few points to chip in. The first thing is we want to appreciate the fact that the government has put in much effort in resolving it. However, as Oliver Twist, we need more. And the first thing that the government can do is that the government should ensure that those who surrogate for them, their marks of pride should come down, and now should plead that the rhetoric in which they should use should be quite civil, because this is a period now of civil and military cooperation. Now, so for you to have good civil and military cooperation in some of the few or some areas which are still very active, I believe that we should know how we surrogate for government and reduce the rhetoric. And secondly, we have to be honest to say that, okay, we are children of Cameroon. The government needs to engage whoever, whether they are the secession or they are not Cameroonian. One thing was understand, even though we don't have people who are dying directly from the bullet, we have people who are dying as a result of action taken by the war, either by starvation, either by poverty, either by the virtue of the fact that they went to the bushes and they came back, they have diseases which are incurable, and they keep dying is as a result of this war. So therefore, what do I mean in essence? What I mean in essence is that even if it means talking to these leaders in America and Europe and sit them to talk, it will help to pacify. There is a green light here. there's what we call the balcony effect in negotiation, which means that you look for a green light and you examine yourself away from the conflict and look at it as a neutral person and see how you can solve it, the balcony effect. The 11th February is coming. It's a good opportunity for the government to turn things around. Mr. Yo, I was in Moyen on Saturday. When I did some few inquiries, some the people saw, a lot of people I spoke to said, when the announcement that there are talks between the Separatists and the government, that they were going to take place, everybody, they were happy. They were happy that at least the suffering of the people will now be piped down, and they know that they were not expecting full separation. They were expecting that at least there will be talk and there will be a middle ground somewhere that they will reach. That when the governments came out with 48 hours after that communique, that they are not discussing, they have not mandated anybody to talk on their behalf, it was a hope dashed down. And to tell you that we move now to the northwest and southwest, those who go down, you ask these people, they will tell you what I'm telling you now. To tell you that the people still believe that the government has to meet with these hardliners and talk with them and let it be open. Talking with them will reduce at least 20% of the conflict. You may not agree in all areas. Then the second thing is, 11th February is coming. It's an opportunity, what we call put the nation on festive mode. Release the prisoners who have not committed crimes, those who are arrested in connection with this crisis, who have not killed, who were arrested before these people picked up arms. Release them and grant amnesty. The whole nation will move into festivity. Now you call for talks. When you call for talks, while the nation is moving into festivity, I want to assure you that those whom you have released, their family will be the advocate of peace, what we call the ambassador for peace, and they will also serve as a stronghold to pull a lot of these people within these communities who are still reluctant to drop their arms. This is the window of opportunity that the head of state can use his 10th February address to give this announcement. You will see the whole nation will move into jubilation. I'm telling you. Now, when this happens, you now say, okay, we are meeting these people who talk heads on and see what we can do to resolve them. In this same course, you will see that gradually, these people, some of them who have picked up arms, are still singing the anthem of Cameroon. They don't hate Cameroon. They don't, even some of them love Cameroon more than us. But there is a tendency that when we say we cannot discuss, the government is a father figure, and nothing stops the government to sit these people down and talk to them. So I plead, and I know that what the government can do, listening to them doesn't mean that you are granting their concession. Sit, talk with them and tell them, okay, you wanted this or you want this. I believe this is what we can give at this main time. We have this that have been done. And again, the government should accelerate or facilitate the decisions taken at the major national dialogue. Within this program, I asked a question. Let us look at the president of the Regional Assembly of Northwest and Southwest. Do they have the powers that they ought to have? No. If we are saying that we want to facilitate peace, we should facilitate these institutions that we have created and give them full powers. The president of this assembly needs to be more than the governor of the Southwest and the Northwest, but they are not. After how many years of the grand measure national dialogue? How much honesty do we have? These are things we have already instituted. It took 26 years for decentralization, 1996. When I was 6 years, it was introduced. And then I knew nothing. Now it took 26 years. And when I became a man, for it to be announced at the grand measure national dialogue, baptize it now into accelerated decentralization. Are we going to take another 26 years to have this realization of the special status amidst the crisis? We have to be honest to ourselves. All these resolutions we have taken, let us ensure that we facilitate them, the implementation. Then now, there's a window of opportunity. This window of opportunity is 10th of February. Release all arrested in connection of the crisis who have not killed anybody. Also, military men who were arrested who are not killed by virtue of the fact that they are still accused. Release everybody. Put the nation in festivity. Go for talk, and you see that will resolve this conflict as a negotiator.
Yes, the civil society, what should they also do, or they are completely helpless as we speak?
Well, thank you. You see, the civil society in this case has little or nothing to do, because the master planner here is the government. I want to agree with him. You see, the main actor is the government. I want to ask myself the question, if a government can give money to fighters, can pay fighters, I mean, Success, Congo, Nambere, we have all heard them confess that they were given money by the government to leave the bush. So when the CPDM says the government cannot negotiate with terrorists, these are the people who were actually killing in the bushes. Oh, please, please, please. These are the people who were actually killing in the bushes. Some of them attended the major national dialogue. So if you can negotiate with them and bring them to talk to the people, what is there for you to talk with people in the diaspora who have never killed anybody. Because you have gone the farthest mile to speak to those who were actually killing. So what harm is there for you to talk to the people who were?
So you mean the diaspora leaders are not worried?
They have never shot any person dead. So if the government can negotiate with the people who have actually done the shooting, it is less harmful for them to discuss with the people who have never killed. So I would have
all CDC workers, they should give them long sleeve and short sleeve.
Well,
more than
if you can give me the names of people that Eric Tato personally killed, I will look at that.
No,
but I am saying that
people who took his orders and acted on his orders.
I am saying that if you can give pardon to people who actually killed, who slaughtered our soldiers, made their wives widows, you pardon them, give them money, brought them to national dialogue to come and address the nation. So if you can pardon them, why can't you pardon those who made decisions?
Yeah, but
between these two, who is more dangerous? The man who actually carried out the killing, or the man who gave the order?
Is the amnesty not valid for everybody?
That's why I say I agree with him. If the government can go back to the table and say, well, we had gone the farthest mile by pardoning the fighters, let us give general amnesty. That would be very good.
They should go back to which table, Senior Barrister?
To their table now, the table where they start to grant the amnesty to the fighters. Let them go back there to that table and say, we grant general amnesty to everybody who has insulted this nation, everybody who has financed terrorism, every person who has bought arms, every person. Give a general amnesty, because we have many of our children who cannot come back to this country. They are all blacklisted for contributing. I have met some in the military tribunal in Boya facing trial. All of them blacklisted for contributing for the purchase of arms and all that. You see, grant a general amnesty like he was saying. Then go to the table and you have full representation of the people. All the major stakeholders should be there. Southern Cameroons cannot be represented by groups. No way. We have funds. We have sons of the soil who are on ground zero, who are feeling the pinch of the war. You cannot negotiate without getting them on the table. That's what we are saying. Everybody has to be there. It's not a matter of IGs meeting government. No way. The Canadian communique did not talk of IGs meeting the government.
IGs were they?
Okay. Interim government.
Government of which nation?
Since we come from Nigeria, you don't know IG.
Which nation?
Yeah, you. So who are those two?
Government of a Facebook nation.
You say, but if you say other stakeholders, and you say
I said
no. You say if you say the civil society has nothing to do, and then you say there are other stakeholders who should come on board. Is that not the civil society?
Mr. Leo, you see, you asked what they could do. The civil society will not take itself on board. As you see, the mediator has a technique of getting representation from the
at this stage where the separatists say we want to go to Canada.
Yep.
Government says no, we are not going.
I have not mandated anybody.
Yes, so the civil society has no role to play. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't see what they can do to go and convince the government to go, because the government.
The CDN is a civil society now.
Yeah.
I don't see what. Yeah. I don't see what the.
What is the CDN? What is the CDN? Is it a political party?
CDN is an international group. It is not Cameroonian civil society.
What does it stand
It is not only made up of. Excuse me. It's not made up of only Cameroonians.
Yeah, but
maybe my friend didn't know. CDN is an international group. There are Cameroonians inside. There are the Americans. There are Germans. It's an international.
What
group.
does CDN stand for?
With a mandate to resolve the cross.
Who gave the mandate?
No. Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation.
Not only for Cameroon.
No, Coalition for Dialogue.
It is not limited to Cameroon.
Senior Barrister, we are intellect and we are not foolish. Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. There are terms of reference as of when they started their meeting. I may be wrong, correct me. They have not talked about the Darfur crisis. They have not talked about Mali. They have not talked about the conflict in
you are wrong.
Wait, let me.
You are wrong. I can give you documents. We have discussed. No,
I'm talking about in detail. No, Senior Barrister.
No.
I host member on House of Commons for CDN2, and I talk with them. There are terms of reference.
I will give you the working documents. You go to Mr. Leo. I can bring you the documents.
Okay. The issue. Are you
CDN has worked on many crises.
Yep.
I can give you the document.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, but what the separatists themselves, what can they do today to end the crisis?
Well, I think what we have to do is to get as many people on board. As many people on board so that everybody will see the good reason to attend these talks. No. Because it is something that cannot be...
Away from the talk, generally speaking, the government, you say government should do this and that and that and that and that. What should the separatists themselves do to end this crisis?
These guys have surprised me. We have on many occasions here on this panel call on them to be united. But the unity I saw there was stunning and surprising, because one day I said the hatred is apparent. Deep down they don't hate themselves. And I saw it being manifested. They are united. Surprisingly, they are all united. They are no longer talking with different voices. So from their own side, I want to just tell them, okay, keep your unity. But on this other side, I am saying the government should not make Cameroon unity
in fighting.
Fighting what? For the negotiation now. For anything that is coming.
No,
from
I'm saying that
they should stay united. What are you talking about?
Senior Barrister, I'm saying that. Though for the negotiation that you are talking, the Canada stuff, Sako rubbished it, and then Marianta also rubbished it. Yes.
From the beginning, not now.
No.
From the beginning, not now.
Sako
not from what I'm getting.
No, Sako rubbished it. I've not seen another position, official position, where he says he's now ready for it. The only person that said, and that was the day that government debunked it, it was Chris Anu, who came out live and said that, okay, since this is the situation, we are going. But Sako and Marianta rubbished it.
I will give you the messages I have received. They are all on board, sir.
Official? Have they made official statements?
Did they write to
I will give you the messages I have received. These guys are all on board.
As the president of the Reform Party?
For them to me. But, Senior Barrister, I'm saying that away from what is happening in Canada, because the way you talk, it seems as if Canada must solve the problem. Away from Canada, what should the separatists themselves be doing to ending the crisis?
I want the separatists to leave no stone unturned for this thing to end. The people are weary of this war. People are tired. Mr. Tamai was talking of people in the Southwest and Northwest. Sorry, that war does not only affect Southwest and Northwest. In Douala here, maybe you do not look around. Ask people here in Douala. There was jubilation here in this town. People were happy that this thing was about to end. Let's not forget that that region is the breadbasket of this country. And when it is in trouble, everybody suffers. GCAM came out with official figures to say that the gross national product has dropped by almost 1/4. You see, so for this thing to come to an end, everybody will benefit. It's not only Southwest and Northwest. So I am saying that the separatist activists who are abroad should leave no stone unturned for this thing to come to an end. I am personally in favor of any form of mediation that will bring Cameroonians to the table.
Practically speaking, what should they be doing? You say they should not leave any stone unturned. What?
There are many things to be done. First of all, they should fine-tune what they want to present on the table. If you are coming to the table, you should not come with 1,000 demands, each person presenting his own. Fine-tune the demands so that they can be demands that can be heeded to. Like he was saying, if you come to the table knowing that the government does not want what do you call it again, this separation, you come to the table and you say your only agenda is separation. Who do you think will listen to you? They should fine-tune their strategies in such a way that when they come to the table, if A fails, go to plan B, B fails, go to plan C. It's not because you have come with a piece of cake that you must live with bread.
Okay. Yes, what do you think the separatists themselves should do as a sign of wanting to end this crisis?
First of all, they must turn down their harsh rhetoric. First, very important. They must be mindful how they communicate. Because if you see when this announcement was made by the Canadian embassy, I was shocked to see Ayebacho and some others insisting that if they must change the word Northwest and Southwest region, and the arrogancy that some were using to say, oh, we told you. You know, in period like this, you ought to be sober. When announcement is done, you stay calm. And secondly, what they ought to do is the fact that they have to reduce, they have to ensure that they they talk to their people on the ground to avoid civilians poor treatment. You remember when this conflict started, the people started with our voices, our voices, our voices. Now, because there was that avoidance of civilian, when they pound on civilian, it moved from our voices to their voices, and now the further kidnappings and mayhem started coming in. It moved now to those voices. Now it has moved from those voices now to, some are calling it now terrorism, which was the worst change to hear from the Northwest and Southwest. I am in Boya every weekend, and when you get this rhetoric, it has totally changed. And a lot of people, when you get to town, they start telling you there's terrorism now, there are terrorists, there are thieves now. It tells you that the people now are frustrated with the way in which these guys are operating on the ground. Now, so which means that what they must do, the separatists first, they must embrace every means of peace, guide their people who are holding arms to say avoid going and making harm to civilians, and also pipe down on the words in which they use, the rhetoric in which they use. Their surrogate must understand that during this period where you are moving for peace and negotiation, you ought to know how you communicate and mind the words, the choice of words you use. You don't have to go competitive. You know, in negotiation, when you go competitive, competitive simply means that you have the equal strength like the opposite party. And when you go competitive, in where you don't have the equal strength, you will not be able to achieve it. So what the separatists must do, Mr. Kum, as I said it, they must pipe down the rhetoric. Secondly, they must guide their fighters to avoid touching civilians and avoid attacking schools. The third issue is that they must understand that unity is strength in resolving this conflict, and resolving this conflict how? You cannot go on a negotiation with one position. That's what we call partner. Partner simply means the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. What is your best alternative? Should you go to the table, it failed? We used to click on separation. Hell no. Your partner should be confederation, maybe unionists. You should have a different partner. You should have a best alternative to do negotiative agreement. Since from where we were till now, you are saying separation or nothing else. Your momentum is dying on the field. Your fighters are dying. Their scale of intensity of attacker is dying. The government is moving up to strength of attack, though the peace itself is not there, but the violence physically has reduced. Do you still think you can stand on one front? You should have the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, which we call the partner. Look at your partner. What is that partner? What if you come to the table and the government don't agree to what you will say? What do you have again to present on the table? I said it, and I'm saying it, that the cry of the common man in the Northwest and Southwest is not a form of the state, is not position. The common man does not care which position you have. What the common man cares is that, my pikin, now which day way this war will end? In Ngokitunja, in Momo, in Manfe, that's the question that the grandmother will ask you. Now, which day this war will end? Which means that they want the peace. And whichever way the separatists can make peace to return in the Northwest and Southwest, it should be embraced. Remember that when you attack peace process, when they say, okay, let us get on board, like Sako and his team were saying, will not get on board, the people will disown you, because the people want to hear just 5 data with peace. They don't care whether you go which form of the state. They don't care which form you decide. Well, what they should do as separatists, they should sit together as a force, come together, ask ourselves, what other alternative do we have for this negotiated agreement? Should we go exclusively for this? When you negotiate with position, you will never have this conflict resolved. But when you negotiate with interest, you have a conflict resolved. Because, Mr. Leo, if you do a clear-cut dichotomy, there's what we call subset, A union, B union, C union, D. If you do that, you see that the separatists, the government, and the confederalists meet in one position. All of them are saying that we are fighting for the interests of the common man. Mr. Shuneh, who is a unionist, is telling us that the government has done this, because to protect the interest. Senior advisor who is a union, who is not a unionist, but someone who believes, a federalist, who believes that if this A, B, C is done, the common man will live in freedom, with peace, tranquility, they will have social economic justice. So the separatist is telling you that we want separation because we want the people from Northwest and Southwest to have social economic justice, to have freedom, to have good healthcare, education. So the meeting point is that all of them have one interest. And now, what is the problem? The problem is not the position. This is saying we must achieve this interest by federation. We must achieve this by confederation. We must achieve this by unionists. But I ask a question, what else do we have? The government too on the other side, what is their best alternative to this conflict? Is it just union decentralization? I think it is not just decentralization. They should have the best alternative to this agreement. What happened in Bamenda, Mr. Kum, was because the government used the service, only the service office of minister, I want to say this, that government officials are not negotiators and are not qualified negotiators. They may have some element of negotiating, but they are not. What happened in Bamenda was because the government did not have the best alternative to this agreement. And if you had the best alternative, then what if the people insisted that they want to talk federation? Let's talk it out. Yeah, and it called down.
Yeah, but I cannot also ascertain from what you are saying that they are not qualified. It is, I think there are instances that qualify who
they are representatives of the government,
yeah,
so they are qualified.
That decides, because we should talk on behalf of the government. They are only government people. Yeah. We should talk and then take responsibility for what has happened. Yes, but do you think the separatists and the civil society can work something out for the conflict to tone down?
Yes, the civil society and the separatists can do something fantastic to appease the people. I think that the civil society will continue to play its role in pacifying, talking to the government, and talking to the separatists to pipe low. And then fundamentally the separatists have the bigger role to play. They have to confess to the people that we lied to you, we deceived you, we are sorry. That's what we expect to hear from the separatists. We told you that in 6 months my trip to Boya will be the capital of Ambazonia. It is 3 years today, nothing has happened. We collected your money and bought houses for ourselves and bought fabulous cars for ourselves. We are sorry. That's what we want to hear from the separatists. What do you want to discuss with dishonest people? And before I continue, I want to correct Senior Barrister Ashu here that I never said here or anywhere that the government of this country doesn't negotiate with terrorists. I never said so. But I would say that our people who were deceived by their brothers in the diaspora are disappointed in them. Hundreds of millions of US dollars were donated and given to them in the name of taking Southern Cameroonians to Boya. And nothing was taken, nothing was done. They didn't take them to Boya, and the money was embezzled. And clearly by error or by design, if that Ambazonian Republic comes to exist, those are the type of people who are going to rule the people. So I want to say that if the secessionists are not ready to apologize, we are ready to apologize to the people on their behalf. That this country is a very peaceful, lovely nation. We were divided by colonial masters. So there's nothing like Southern Cameroons or West or East Cameroon before colonial masters ever came. They only came in their colonialism and capitalism and divided us. And today we are fighting and killing ourselves, brothers and sisters, because of a foreign capitalist who came for his own interests and divided us. And today, when we are killing ourselves, they are laughing at us. I want to say that, dear brothers, dear Cameroonians, we are one nation, we are one people. Let us reason together and work together. There is no reason we should be fighting over a decision that was not taken by us. They are the French and the English who divided us. We are one people, and we should continue to remain one people. Through dialogue, the Grand National Dialogue was created by the Head of State, His Excellency Paul Biya, and chaired by the Prime Minister, His Excellency Chief Dr. John Gov't. That Grand National Dialogue process is still continuous. It's continuous up to today, up to now that I'm talking here. And I think that we can still consult all the various committees and see how we can bring in preparations to see that peace, tranquility, and unity can continuously reign in this nation. Our brothers who have the guns, I'm calling upon you to drop your guns and join the disarmament centers. Your other brothers who join them, you see how gradually, slowly, and steadily the disarmament centers are growing up, nurturing them, giving them trade for those who don't have a trade, and those who have to go back to school, there are preparations to send them back to school. I want to laud the efforts of Fayengo Francis for the marvelous job that he is doing. And I say that there's nothing that's more than peace. Let love lead us in all what we are doing, for we are all Cameroonians and nothing but Cameroonians.
We are all Cameroonians and nothing but Cameroonians. Now, Senior Barrister, lots of persons, Cameroonians in particular, had hopes that finally talks were going to take place between the government and separatists. The government says no, and we don't know what may happen. What if these talks don't hold?
Well, Mr. Leo,
how differently should the problem be solved?
what if the talks don't hold? I'm afraid we are in for more trouble, because unlike what I hear from the other side, I don't know where he gets his information from. Things are going to be worse if the talks don't hold, because on Friday, I lost a neighbor, and he is from Kimbung. The corpse was to be carried to the village. We were told that we could not drive at night. A certain general transporter on the Kumbamanfe road has decreed that no vehicle should be seen on that road after 6:30, between 6:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. I don't know this man who is making a lot of noise and pounding his chest. Can you not tell your party to send people there to go and make that road secure? Apart from transporter, the three people came out from the BLM. They sent out images of how they have replaced field marshal. So, in fact, the story is not a very good one. These guys have rearmed, and I think that, from what I hear, their rhetoric, there's something which we may not be seeing. What they are saying is, for the government to take them seriously, they should push the governments back to the wall. And that means that they are going to step up their game. There will be more attacks. And if there are more attacks, there will be more trouble for the population. So, I don't want this to happen. I think that we all want peace. And there can be no peace if one side thinks that they are going to win with the barrel of the gun, and the other side thinks that it owns the land and can waylay people and finish with them with equal guns. I heard there was one who said, they have guns, we have guns. We are on our land, they are visiting us. So it's not going to be easy. I will not be as assuring as my CPDM man, because the reports I get from the field are not what he is telling me here.
Okay.
It's going to be very rough if these negotiations don't take place.
Jarvis, now, should we, at this juncture, be talking from position of strength? We are in 2023. Like, I saw the video where this guy says, they have guns, we have guns. Yes, I saw the video, and a video that came out of the BLM, though we are told that that video may be old. Yes, but now, should we still be talking of position of strength, the firepower? Can we say that 2023 we still have the firepower of 2018 and rearming, and should we not prioritize diplomacy at this time?
It's more of propaganda. I'll be very honest here. I'll be very honest. I know when I say this, just yesterday they call me black leg on TV, and so it's not new. Let's be realistic.
They say the way you guys are talking,
yes.
you are CPDM.
Yeah, CPDM, yes.
Yeah,
so let's be clear.
But it's normal. We have been getting these stories for.
If you look at 2018, that was a peak. I was one of the very few people in Moya at the time where you could not even, the town was deserted and gunshot everywhere, left, right. But when you go down now, let's be very realistic. People in Moya be the whole night on the street without you hearing a single sound of a gun. However, there's still some few elements of this. Yes, sporadic in Moya. Now, if you look at, let's come to my 16, where the police used to be. Go there, there was a hotel there where the police was using. It's fully refurbished and now fully active. You go to my 16, people are there the whole night. You go to even a corner itself, the level in which you see the attack has reduced and the level in which you see the both parties' confrontation have reduced. However, we are not refusing the fact that some localities still don't have active combat. They do. But if you look at on the scale of 100%, we are talking about 70% of dying active comeback and just 30% of comeback, which means that 70% is a good mark, it's a good score. But that doesn't still depict the fact that there is need for discussion, at least to pacify for reconciliation, and also to enable that there should be a favorable environment. Whoever is purporting the fact that they have the might, they can regenerate is wrong. They will never. And if we look at this situation now, the reason is obvious. Those who were actively fighting on the ground, some of them have dropped their arms. Some of them have been killed. And the money that were being contributed, a lot of the monies were siphoned, and people are not contributing again. My trip to Boya died. When I say people are not contributing again, I may be taken out of context. I just saw Senior Barrister. Let me explain this. They are not contributing again as compared to how they used to contribute. Yes. Let's look at the reality. Where the my this, my that is not still going. A lot of people have decamped. The IG faction that was Sako, now we have Anu, we have Marinata, we have Sako in itself. So there is now little collaboration. We have the indictment in the United States for some people. Now some of contributors are a bit reluctant now to start giving money. So you see a lot of these factors. People now leaving some fighters leaving the bushes and going out to disarmament and demobilization centers. So you see a lot of these factors play on to say that they can come back as how they used to be, to use the power of strength. Now they are not in the power of strength. Let's be honest. They are not in the power of strength, because if you look at how the military might we used to watch on Facebook within a week as compared to 2019, come back to Facebook now. You can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. I don't whether Senior Barrister agree or not.
Senior Barrister does not agree with
whether I agree or not. I'm just being realistic. You will see a lot of, when you go to pages now of these activists, you will not see the frequent rampant videos you keep seeing on military might in 2019 and 2018. It's not, or even early 2020. In 2023 now, I will tell you that you don't see those pictures again. You go to Bamenda in itself, there are some of these Brazilian products that they say will not drink. Is everywhere. Even in Lebi Alem, this Brazilian product is even in Lebi Alem, Kumba, and the rest. Now you see passage that used to be, the Kumba Boyawo that used to be constantly blocked, is not frequently blocked now. It tells you that they are not in the position of strength. So you cannot use strength to say they have guns, we have guns. No. What you should do is, what can we do such that these guns die down, such that there should be reconciliation? As I said one time on your platform, that what we need in Cameroon is truth and reconciliation. Commission, a commission of truth and reconciliation. And also the government too should not leverage on the fact that because you are not hearing this, that means you have resolved the conflict. No. I remember that for you to reconcile these people, you must go on the table. When a war starts, whether you like it or not, you dialogue. Even if we win the war, you see dialogue. We all watched that in the Second World War. When it all ended, there was negotiation and dialogue, where Germany was asked to pay a compensation or reparation. All these things must, in the First World War, Germany was asked to pay reparation. So all these things will happen. After the conflict, you go back to the table to see that, okay, let's prevent that happen from not happening. What can we do? So whether the government too should not also negotiate on the position of strength, because you are not hearing gun, that does not mean that people are not being kidnapped. A lady told me in Moya yesterday, that on Saturday, that the darkest part of night is dawn, and that my son, you have come to Munya, I know you have come for information. I said, no, I've just come for visit. He said, you are not hearing gunshots now. But let me tell you, people are being kidnapped on a regular basis to pay ransom, to pay this, to pay that. And she quoted an example where somebody was killed down Mankame because the person was about to be taken and the person resisted. And that, so these are the issues. So the government, that's why when the government announced it, when the Canadian announced the announcement of peace, we were celebrating that we will now be living without fear. So I want to say this, that the government surrogate and the government itself should not rely on the fact that you're not hearing frequent attack to mean that the war is over. It's not over. And our parents started this in early 1880s, late 90s, where we started hearing about the 1st October. If it was resolved, till now, we now saw the metamorphosing of guns. And what we should know is that all of us will die. Cameroon will remain Cameroon. And I want to ask this rhetorical question. We will live to your name ever true. Each Cameroon minister, okay, are you living to the name ever true of Cameroon in diplomacy, peace, and reconciliation? It is a question for you to answer.
Good evening, Mr. Leon, to all your panelists. To resolve a conflict, it is good to dialogue first with the key stakeholders like Sisiku and co in prison, and also those abroad. A child in the house cannot be causing problem, and the father is always looking for and other part to dialogue with like the last major national dialogue. I'm Alfred Tamu for writing from Boya. I also think we would be bigger fools to use fonts and chiefs as spokesmen for the people, because they will end up opening this Pierre Jaff by thanking the head of state. I love know the name of the chief that can boldly talk for their people without a fear favor. Okay, good evening, Mr. Leo. Senior barrister should not be deceived by the apparent unity of the diaspora activists. They have just been frightened into fragile unity by the indictments. When serious issues begin to arise on a potential negotiation table, or when money is involved, their individual interests will resurface. That will be it. Okay. Greetings, Mr. Liu. Loving the talks. The diplomat saying the government has done everything possible. He must be one of those officials feeling big in the war, or let himself in the public. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, we are confused with senior barrister with the position he's taking. Can he rule the nation with this position? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. There are some highly placed Anglophones who, in quest for appointment to posts of responsibility, that would never want the war to end. Okay. Thank you, senior barrister. If the government can negotiate with Nambere, Success Congo, and can negotiate with the others. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Simple truth is the government of Cameroon is suffering from excessive pride. Okay. I think neither the government nor the separatists have publicly changed ground. The government, as of now, insists the form of state decentralization is non-negotiable. The separatists insist on separation. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leonard and panelists. Honestly, I'm totally in support with what the CPDM guy is talking about. Some people deceived us with wrong information without carrying appropriate research by history. This conflict has to stop, and let the government look for lasting solutions on how to resolve the crisis. Let peace return to Cameroon. Victor is writing there from Douala. Good evening to you, Victor. Senior barrister, we are almost... Oh, you the one to come in?
Yes.
Yes, we're talking about almost everybody confused on what to do. The separatists and the civil society, what aptly do you expect them to do?
As I earlier said, we are looking forward to see the separatists to confess to their people.
Okay.
You know that these calls for international talks by the separatist leaders who are based in Europe, as I earlier said, is the last kick of a dying horse. They are looking for a shortcut to have amnesty to be able to return back home. Having deceived their people for over 6 years, they are looking for international talks so that amnesty can be granted to them so that they should come back home, because home, sweet home, there is no place like home. And they know that with all what they have done to their people, it is practically impossible for them to ever come back home. And then from the last outing of Senior Barrister Ashu, I want to say without any fear of contradiction here that I can consider him to be a prophet of doom. Because this crisis, statistically from what started in 2016, it went into a full-blown up war in 2018, and what we are experiencing now shows that peace is returning back to Cameroon at a geometrical progression, not at an arithmetical progression. And criminals will still obviously come up with sporadic attacks, but that doesn't mean that peace has gained its place back in this nation, Cameroon. And we want to call on the civil society to continue playing their role in talking to the activists and talking to the government, because the Grand National Dialogue is an ongoing process, and we look forward to receiving proposals from the civil society and from the separatists to see how all these proposals can bring back peace, unity, and tranquility. And I would not stop without making mention of the fact that even the Cameroon embassies in Europe and the US, those separatists who have commanded atrocities to be committed back in this nation, and they see themselves being already indicted in their countries of host, they can still go to the Cameroon embassies, and there they declare that they want to join this armament center, and the government is going to find a way on how to incorporate them. For the Grand National Dialogue gave amnesty to a lot of Cameroonians, invited the separatists to come join us, and the government is still being ready to receive them they can declare themselves at the Cameroon embassies in their host countries. And I think that the peace process that was initiated by the government of this country through the Grand National Dialogue was a very efficient one, and the results are very glaring. And I think the process is continuous, and it is a leeway for those who have erred against their nation to be able to come back and say we are sorry, and then we'll accept them, because we have a head of state who is a father who takes care of his children. And I want to strongly affirm the fact that no matter what they have done, if they are able to come up, just like the Namberis and the rest who have come up and they were forgiven, if the others are ready to come up, they also will be forgiven, because nothing is worth peace, and to err is human and divine forgiven.
Okay. We also call on the men of God to come in now, because if the negotiations or there are no talks, it means fighting has to continue.
Mr. Kum, you see, when I listen to my brother, I just shake my head, because it looks like he's coming from some East African country. It's not up to 2 weeks that a military base was attacked in Manfe, and all the ammunition carried away. I don't know where he lives, where he's living. I don't know. People say politicians don't go down to the root, to the grassroots to get information. I have my information from the grassroots. These guys have simply changed their tactics because the population should cry that they attacked them. They are now carrying out guerrilla tactics, guerrilla war. So you see, please, I don't want, each time I hear that they've killed a soldier, I look at the social consequences. He leaves behind a family, a widow, and children, no one to take care of them. You take this thing as a sport. I'm sorry, it's not a sport. We are suffering inside us. Society is suffering. That people should be dying like that, and you're happy, and you're saying that things are fine. Why don't you go to your village now, Massa? Go there, things are fine. Don't men here begin to tell that things are fine. The only way out of this thing is for people to pipe down. Let us leave our foolish pride aside. If there is a problem in the house, a father can tell the children, my children, I'm sorry. There is no harm, there's no crime in a father telling his children, I'm sorry. Let us look at this thing. There's no problem.
Yeah, but
you cannot
at the table. Let's assume that they agree to sit at table, and the secessionists insist that we want separation or nothing else. How do we solve it?
That is the problem of the mediator. The mediator draws up his timetable, his agenda, and you, like he said it. You cannot come to a table. No, he was the one said you cannot come to negotiation with preconditions. You can't. You should be part of it, but you cannot determine the outcome. I said you can start, but when the thing kicks off, you were talking about men of God. They all have to be there. Okay. There are many stakeholders. He talked of Sisiku and else. They all have to be there. You cannot negotiate this thing without Sisiku being present. No way. People from ground zero. I talk of legitimacy of the people talking. That is a real question.
What are the legitimate guys?
People who have a mandate from the people.
How do you get the mandate?
You will get it, sir. You will get. When you start this mediation, the mediator will tell you how to get legitimate representative. There's no problem with that.
The whole elections in Bamenda and in Boya.
Sir, am I the mediator? I said they will tell you what to do to bring legitimate representation.
He's asking about how
you are the one piece of the negotiator, so you can start telling.
Sorry, I don't represent Canada. I don't know where you get your information.
Which Canada?
Okay. On my negotiator part, is the mediator is Canada. It's not me.
Yeah. On my part, I think we must be honest. Both sides have sinned against the people of the Northwest, Southwest, and Cameroon. We have government surrogate who are more dangerous than separatists, and we have separatists who are more dangerous. We have, no, I'm not pointing at you, I'm just demonstrating. So both sides. Now, where do we go from here, Mr. Kum? As we live here, the separatists on their part need to look about the cry of the common man. Do we still want these people to live in the poor conditions that they are? Some of them are there in US because they have never experienced the poverty, the sound of gun. I'm sure where they are, if you shoot a gun beside them, they'll run. Now, what of the common man who is on the ground that he gets this sound like a normal music on a daily basis? They have this responsibility to pipe down and change their rhetoric. Now, the civil society, the question that you asked Senior Barrister Ashu, said nothing. They have a role. The civil society, the Northwest Task Force, women, and all the different civil society have a responsibility to appeal to the consciences of the belligerents, to see the need for peace. They have the responsibility. They have the responsibility to educate the common man on the need for peace, because the common man too is confused. Now you come to the government. The president of the republic is the guarantor of security, the guarantor of the sovereignty, the #1 state man, and he has the prerogative as a father of the nation to see how he can restore peace in the restive regions. He was a president. He was one member of the ad hoc committee created by Aidjo to resolve the Anglophone crisis, so he knows the Anglophone crisis very well. And now what he should do is that there's a window of opportunity. Mr. Shuneh will agree with me that there's a window of opportunity. On the 10th of February is a window of opportunity. Those who have not killed in the contention of this crisis, if they are released, general amnesty is granted, the nation will move to festivity. And the nation will move to festivity, people will rejoice, and then now you move now to a formal talk. Keep aside the rhetoric whether we negotiate terrorists or not. These persons are people whose activities affect the country directly and indirectly. So we talk to them to see how Koko can leave Munyenge and come to Douala. We talk to them to see how Prudo can leave and transport. We talk to them to see how the people of Lela can do their festival in peace. To talk to them to see how the people of Meme can do their festival in peace. To talk to them to see how the common man can go to the bush without being afraid that he may be shot by stray bullet. To talk to them. So 11th February is an opportunity for the government of Cameroon to announce free all those arrested in connection of this crisis. The first step, the nation moved into festivity. The second step is that you grant general amnesty. The nation further move into festivity. The third step is that you agree that, okay, we want to talk with these people. And the fourth step is that you accelerate the decentralization that you have said is accelerated. I want the president of the Northwest House of Assembly and Southwest to have the powers more than the governors, because they are elected, they have the mandate of the people, and they should represent the people. If not, we will still be coming over and talk about how we can resolve the conflict over and over, and nothing will be done.
Okay, I'm looking forward to having the women tell us what they can do to help solve this crisis. We want to say thank you to you, Senior Barrister, National President of the Reform Party, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I was just asking my brother, what law you will be applying when the presidents of the regions who will have more powers than the governors? Because you have to go to Parliament again to review those laws, which is not possible. Anyway, thank you for giving us this opportunity to air our views. We call on all stakeholders to support the peace process. Let us put all hands on deck to make sure that this country doesn't know war anymore.
We want to thank you to Mr. Shuneh for coming.
Yes, Mr. Lee, I'm delighted to have been here to give my own deep insight into this very burning issue that is affecting our nation, Cameroon. The 11th February, our National Youth Day will be coming up in the next 2 weeks. I want to call on all the youths who are in the bushes, who have the guns, to drop their guns and join this disarmament center so that our peace process to bring back unity, development, and tranquility in our nation can continue very well.
Tamajabis, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Yu, and those who probably do not agree with some of the things we said here, they have the opportunity to call you on the numbers on your screen if they want to be part of the panel and to see what they think can best develop the nation.
Yes, very difficult to have people come and talk on TV. We have people who write so well on social media, but when you invite them to come and talk, they tell you that they are afraid for their lives, but they are very quick to insult those who can muster the courage to come and talk. However, we thank you all for the wonderful compliments you give every day. Thank you too to you, Desmond and Eli, for producing this program, and to you, Tabit and Bryant, always supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.